Yo, what's good guys? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I want to show you guys my entire approach when it comes to passing prop firm challenges and why I think most people do it the wrong way and how you can do it in a more efficient way, which will allow you to pass them faster with less headaches and overall a way more structured approach. Now, before we get into the actual strategy, let's quickly go over how most of you guys are probably attending prop firm challenge as of now. And from my experience, what I have seen, most people, how they approach prop firms is they tend to trade a prop firm account for like multiple weeks or even months sometimes to eventually still blow them because they simply don't have a process which allows them to pass prop firms consistently. So usually their equity curve, something looks like that. They have ups and downs, and then at some point they get impatient. They have like a bad few trades, and then they completely crash out, and then they repeat that all over again, and they just end up not making progress when it comes to actual trading. So the first thing there is you actually need to have a proper plan, right? If you don't have an edge in the market, then it doesn't matter if you trade prop firm challenges, if you trade personal capital, or whatever it might be, you won't make a positive return at the end of the day. So you need to have a proven system and an edge, otherwise you don't even have to try trading, all right? But let's say you have a system in place, for example, with four-step protocol, which I use to approach the markets each day and each week with a consistent approach, which gives you a clear direction of what you want to see, how you can go from finding a bias all the way down to entry and then also trade management. Then you can check out my four-step protocol. Also, a quick heads up, there will be actually a 1-year anniversary bundle dropping in the coming days. You'll get the entire four-step protocol, including entire ebook, over 10 hours of video content explaining all the concepts which you need. And then also, as mentioned, you get 3 months access to the Discord for only $10 per month. And there are daily live streams where I cover my trade plans for the next day. I go over all the questions you guys have. So if you're interested in that, then keep an eye on the announcements in the coming days. But let's get straight away into the prop firm approach I am using. So let's break it down step by step how you can actually pass a prop firm challenge the most efficient way. So usually you have a two-phase challenge, right? You have phase 1, where you usually have to reach 8% profit target while having a 10% overall drawdown. And then you have usually in the phase 2, you have 5% profit target and you have same maximum drawdown before you end up breaching the account. Now, my goal is to either pass or fail the prop firm challenge as soon as possible, meaning within 1 to 2 weeks. Why? Because the opportunity costs become way too high if I'm spending too much time passing a challenge or trading a challenge out of drawdown. That's also one of the reasons why if I trade a challenge account, I don't cut my risk once I'm in drawdown, because by the time I'm trading out of drawdown, I could have simply passed a new account instead of getting the old one back to break even. And therefore, I rather fail the account quickly than start a new one and then use those winning trades I have to then pass phase 1 of the fresh account. Now, what I go for usually is I go for 2 trades on the phase 1 and then I aim for 1 trade on the phase 2. So in total, I usually aim for in phase 1 for 2 trades, around about 2R, and I risk 2%. Which then brings me to the 8% profit target. And as mentioned, I don't cut my risk. I also don't manage my trades and challenges. It's either TP or stop loss. And then you have 5 trades, 5 consecutive losses from your initial balance until you hit the maximum drawdown. And if you hit 2 consecutive wins, then you already pass phase 1. All right. Then on the phase 2, the same thing. I try to pass with 1 trade. Usually I go for 1 trade, which is about 2.5R or 3R, and then I risk around about 2%, and then I try to pass that phase 2 also in 1 trade. And again, 2% risk. Obviously, if a setup is close to 2R, you might have to risk a bit more than 2%, and always make sure that it depends on the prop firm. Check their rules, how much you can risk per trade at the highest. Also, if there are any consistency rules. So always make sure to check that upfront before you start the challenge. Now again, as mentioned, why do I want to pass or fail them fast? Because first of all, the return on investment. The more time I spend passing a challenge, the more time I'm wasting not making money. So I'd rather try to pass a challenge fast, and then I fund the account, get that to a payout, and then I get my return on investment. In this case, the return on investment is the payout divided by the challenge fee. So let's say I get a 10K payout on a 200K account, which costs around about $1,000. Then that would be 10K divided by 1K, meaning my return on investment would be at 10x. All right. That's my return on investment. And that's what prop firms are being used for, right? So prop firms are a tool of leverage, and that's what most people don't get. They treat prop firms the same way as they would trade a personal account, and they don't understand how they actually should use prop firms in their own advantage. Now, before we get into the setups, I would recommend to you guys to take for passing the challenge. You have to, first of all, make sure what is the ideal account size for your individual situation, right? Ideal account size. So that comes down to your personal life, right? And the first thing you have to ask yourself is how much can you spend per month on challenges? So let's say you can spend 1K per month on challenges, and you know you either pass or fail an account usually within 2 weeks on average, right? Sometimes it can take 3 weeks, sometimes 1 week, but you know, okay, usually I either pass or upload the account within 2 weeks on average. So you know, okay, per month I need 2 accounts. I can spend 1K. So if you divide 1K by 2, then you know you can spend $500 per challenge. So $500 usually equals a 100K challenge. So in this case for you, the perfect challenge size would be 100K. Obviously, if you can spend less, or if you pass or fail them slower or faster, this number will change. But this determines then what account size you should go with. Because if you have an account size which is too high for you, which you pretty much can't afford to lose because you have to then save up again, spending that money again on the same challenge would, hurt you financially, then you can't afford that challenge and you can't afford to lose it. And subconsciously, that will affect your trading negatively, and the emotional side of your trading will take over, and you will trade your emotions instead of the actual system you're supposed to be following. Now, once you have determined the account size, which you can easily afford each month, let's say twice in this case, then you can go over to taking the trades. And in this case, I recommend to you guys to focus on one short, one kill setups. Right? Usually they form on the H1. You can maybe refine your entry to the M15, but I would recommend to always take trades based off the daily and weekly bias, and then take a one shot, one kill setup. And if you can frame 1 to 3 of those setups per week, then you can pass a challenge rather quick. All right. Now, what setup do I use? I use the A+ setup checklist, which I made a video on previously, which is according to my 4-step protocol. And I will show you guys now an example of such an A+ setup of a trade I have taken yesterday, which was on UCAD. So let's take a look at that setup. The bias for the trade today on UCAD was to look for longs into that internal daily fair value gap as an internal liquidity pool. We have taken out the previous week's low on Monday. We also had SMT at the previous day's low with DXY. You can see here DXY failed to take out the previous week's low, while UCAD did. And then if we drop down to the H1, you can see that yesterday we then saw an hourly change in order flow. We closed above those down close candles. So we have here an H1 order block. And as mentioned, we swept the previous day's low, had SMT at the lows as well. Then what do we wait for? We wait for a manipulation into the key level, which would be those equal lows. And knowing we have CAD news coming up in New York session, that's where we focus on. So let's see how price is developing into New York session on the next day. And for that, we drop down to M15 time frame. So we have Asia session opening here. And we take out the lows, so we have taken out external liquidity, and now price is retracing into that internal liquidity pool, which is that M15 week high. We have seen expansion in Asia, And we know we have news in New York session, so London session will most likely be consolidation or seek and destroy, and then we will look for our setup approaching the New York session. So we have taken out that pre-London low one more time. So we have a double sweep at the range lows. And now we want to see if we can frame a change in order flow. So we have lunch here, and now we have New York sessioning approaching. And what can we see here on the M15? We swept the low, double swept the lows, and now we see price closing above this down close candle on a closing basis. And we now have an M15 order block inside this H1 order block after we have taken out H1 liquidity, so we have stop run. And this is our entry confirmation, so we can put our stop here and enter after this candle has closed. So we enter straight away here, stop at the lows, and we can aim for 2 to 3R. You can see until the equal highs, we have about 3.2R. We're risking 2%, and then let's see how this trade plays out. As you can see, price goes straight away into the equal highs, and you could even leave some partials for those equal highs or the daily fair value gap, which acted as a strong liquidity on the higher time frames for our buyers. And if you check how we're trading right now, then you can see price ended up almost going all the way for that daily fair value gap high here. That's an A+ setup according to my checklist, which is based on the 4-step protocol. And as you can see, that's the exact structured process I'm talking about. Always the same process: trading conditions, daily bias, narrative, then key level stop run, and then you have to frame a proper entry with either a confirmation or a higher time frame turtle soup entry, and then the rest is just letting your edge play out. And now at this point, you can see you would already be up like 5-6% easily, and you would only like one more trade and you're done with the phase 1. And then in the phase 2, you just wait for one A+ setup, and then you can easily pass a prop firm challenge within 2 to 3 trades. But the difficult thing is here to be patient for those A+ setups and don't do any stupid shit in between. That's where, yeah, most people tend to fail. This concludes today's video. I hope you learned something. If you did so, I would appreciate a like and a comment. And if you want to check out the SCN Capital Discord server, where I also called out this trade setup before it happened, then use the link below. The sign-ups for next month are live right now. And as mentioned, if you want to get your hands on the 4-step protocol bundle with the 3 months Discord access, then make sure to check out the announcement channel in my Discord, and see you guys in the next video.